Tell me if you can relate. Have you had those days where life seems like it's totally against you? No matter how positive you try to be, life just keeps putting these obstacles in your way. And the more agitated you become, the curveballs just keep getting thrown at you. You are simply getting fed up. You can barely keep your head above water, but yet your family and your friends and your bosses and your colleagues, they just keep making these impossible demands of you. The world is in chaos. Your world is in chaos. It is impossible to be positive and have enthusiasm about life. It's just a bunch of naive BS that's really not practical advice in the real world. Hey there, everyone. I'm Jess, and you are watching Living Free. This is where we discuss the things that can get us stuck in life in hopes of providing some encouragement and inspiration to become liberated. If you've been watching the channel for a while and haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing. So today we're going to discuss enthusiasm in our daily lives and what that actually looks like. It's not likely what you're thinking. A lot of us here are overcoming an addiction of some sort, and what we're going to discuss today is an entirely new orientation from what we are used to. Our lives have been characterized by problems, mostly problems that we created for ourselves. When we wake up in the morning, we dread the day because all we see is the problems that await us. And when we have an addicted mind, this is pretty much how we start day most of the time. Getting out of bed is like climbing a mountain with this excruciating load on your shoulders. And this isn't just about substance addiction. Before substances or behaviors even came into the picture, we were addicted to harmful ways of thinking. We are addicted to the various stimuli that perpetuate more and more harmful thinking patterns in us. So let's talk a little bit about that. The most significant part of overcoming any addiction is the work that we do on our minds. It is our own mental health. One of the acceptance statements from the recovery program that was instrumental in my sobriety is this: enthusiasm is my daily exercise. I treasure the moments of my new life. I'm going to be honest with you. I scoffed at this many times as I was quitting alcohol. I was like, yeah, right. It just doesn't seem realistic. At the time, my conditioned thought patterns were very problem-oriented, so there was just no enthusiasm to be found, and it seemed really silly to even say those words. It seemed like it was out of touch with reality, with the reality that I had experienced, like some sort of Pollyanna delusion. But when I finally kicked alcohol, my recovery was front and center of my priorities, so I was willing to give anything a try. I was desperate to change how my mind had been working all of those years. I had to consciously start putting in the work and putting this statement into practice. I had to find the power and the meaning that was underneath the words written in that little booklet. One of the first things to realize is that enthusiasm for life doesn't just happen to us magically. It doesn't just come upon us only when things are finally going right for us. It is not based on anything in the external. It is only generated from within. It is something that we train in ourselves. It is a conscious act. It involves surrendering to life as it is, and it requires simplifying our inner worlds and ceasing our old need to constantly complicate everything and to stop strengthening our old problem-oriented tendencies. We learn to accept and we learn to welcome everything as it is. We learn how to release our attachment to our need to be in control. And why would we want to willingly let go of control? Wouldn't everything just fall apart then? If all our energy is outsourced trying to control the outer world, then that energy is unavailable for what is going on right here. Right here. The more curious and less judgmental I became about how all my inner stuff was working, the more positive I became. The more I decided to let go of my attachment to control, the more enthusiasm about life started to come up to the surface. Not in a sort of ambitious sense, but in a kind of more carefree way, because I was relinquishing bit by bit my need to create problems by controlling. As I simplified and became softer, life became softer. When our grip loosens, we can find pleasure in simplicity. It can become our daily exercise, not just this shallow sentiment. As our life improves, our gratitude increases. As our gratitude increases, our attitude improves as well. It kind of reminds me of that quote, "The struggle ends when gratitude begins." Living life this way is a far cry from the old default problem mode. Previously, I viewed life through a filter that only seemed to show me what was wrong with every situation in life. The idea isn't just a spin-off of the cliche book title, The Power of Positive Thinking, but it is an actual real possibility, and it can grow naturally as we develop this new orientation toward life. So what are the ingredients of this happier, more enthusiastic life? Well, first of all, curiosity, and then self-inquiry and sincerity and honesty and a willingness to be embodied and surrender to what is here. Imagine being able to laugh things off easier, to not be always carried away by our emotional tangents. This is possible, my friends, as we learn to change our orientation. And the list of negative mindsets can go on in the form of anger and hate and self-condemnation and unforgiveness. Become curious. Don't resist those feelings. Just see what thoughts are creating them. What thoughts are you participating in that are getting you all fired up? Don't judge them. Just be aware and allow them to be. See if you can stop attaching to the mental drama about it. Even, dare I say, welcome the feelings. Relax and then release naturally, not pushing. None of this can be forced. The emotional energy is going to pass just like everything else passes. See how simple and open you can become by allowing everything to be as it is and not holding on to these complicated thought stories. The world is suffering because most people are experiencing suffering in their minds. Pema Chodron said the most difficult times are the ones we give ourselves. Some of us don't want to believe that. We want to continue to blame others, to blame people in the past, to blame circumstances, and we are free to do that if that's where we are. But I would encourage you to ask yourself if it is actually helping. In what way does holding on to this negativity benefit you? You are not helpless to these feelings, my friends. So how can we be positive and enthusiastic about a world when all of these terrible things are going on? Well, you got a good point. You don't have to be. You can keep getting worked up. You can keep getting angry and contributing to the chaos. But what is that actually helping? If we don't get our own house in order first, how can the world ever change? And I'm not talking about holding on to some sort of self-righteous ideology. I'm talking about turning your intention inward with honesty and sincerity and learning to sense the very ground of your being. A lot of us have reached the end of suffering. We have had enough. We realize that we have really no other option left. In our desperation, we have become willing to live a different way. The old way isn't working. We are choosing to no longer hold on stubbornly to our old belief systems, to our old identities, to our grudges, to our unforgiveness, to our hang-ups. Letting all that go requires a mental discipline, relinquishing control of what we can't control. We only have this right here: our attitudes, our values, our actions, and our reactions. Everything else in the world, it happens without our permission, without our consent. It is as it is. We have enough happening in our own inner world that we need to pay attention to. If more people did this, we would live in a very different world than we do now. Inner mastery is a lifelong process, a way of being. This is our primary responsibility in life. We can respond and create change within ourselves. The chaos in the world is due to neglect of our individual responsibility to our inner space of influence. This is our first and our most primary purpose. And if we don't, we're just going to mirror the chaos of what is happening in a world of suffering. So right here, this is our business. The external world is not going to do what we want it to do. So why cause ourselves more suffering by trying to control it? This is our business right here. Other people are not our business. This is what we get to have. This is what we get to experience. This is what we get to take care of. Our own well-being is our priority. It does not depend on other people, and we must also stop expecting others to provide that for us. To live fully is to always be in no man's land, to experience each moment as completely new and fresh. Curiosity allows everything in life to teach us, to show us, to see where the lesson is. I encourage you, my friends, to cultivate this curiosity. Don't dread these lessons. Welcome them. These lessons come in many forms, mostly from observing and recognizing what it is these minds are doing. Our minds can provide lessons for us all day long, in the sense that we can recognize how problem-oriented they actually are and how we can create an issue out of pretty much everything. When we begin to welcome these lessons instead of judging ourselves, we can experience the beginning of some inner relief. Genuine enthusiasm is welcoming life as it is, to let go of self-judgment, to be willing to learn and to grow, willing to be a human being, willing to find a better way of living and being, and to cultivate that curiosity, to nurture a sense of awe about all of this. It's incredible. To learn to stop inhabiting that fear-based mind that lives in the past and it worries about the future. This right here and now, and this inner world is our concern before anything else. This is our practice. This is our daily exercise. So I hope you found some value here today, my friends. If so, please share this with somebody who might be encouraged by it. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you who are here with me today, and I will see you all next time.